Anatomy is mythology by law, and everything again as above, so below, as within, so without. This is just this earthly plane experience being in this simulation, is a dense version of a dream realm or other dimensions that exist on different, levels or different, say a different dimension, like a different sound octave in essence. It exists on a different vibrational frequency. But I was just like, and it's something simple. I just caught the little download, and that's how it be. That's how, I realized, like, yeah, it's just simplifying things with symbols and not so much like, because if you had to read literally, like, what we call reading in this realm, like, as far as like words to describe, all the things that happen in your past lives or all these different things compared to actually like visualizing it and imagining it. And like on the DMT trip, or in essence, when you deal with, well, for sure, DMT mushrooms, where you tapping into that timelessness where you could experience what seems like 20 years in 5 hours, what seems like 5 hours in this earthly plane, you know, like again, you sitting there for 5 hours, or again, like even when you go to sleep for maybe like, let's say, 8 hours, but then in your dream, you experience being from a little kid to adolescence to adult, all in all in the span of what you may say is 8 hours. But bringing it back to what I was talking about, I thought about a cat. I've been like just with the energy of dealing with the cats and the lyran beings and just the different little stories in alignment with that. How much cats were cherished in a lot of ancient mythology. In the Temple of Dendera, they said something seemed like they was trying to say something popped off the after moving from the zodiac sign of the crab, which is Leo is right after that, you know what I'm saying? And then you do have the aspect of where it was taken to the extreme, because the solar plexus or the sun energy is connected with, that's Ra or Ras, you know, and the Leo constellation has a star in it named Ras Elase, and you got Rastafari with the lion, the tribe of Judah, you know what I'm saying? Just again, all these connections with the lion. But what's been coming through a lot lately is us dealing with, dimensional travel and, being in a simulation that's causing us, let's just say, in theory, causing us to experience constant loops, you know. But I just thought about though with cats and how they hide their shit. Like a dog don't, dog gonna shit where they shit at, what I'm saying? It is what it is. But a cat, or more so domestic cats, I'm not sure about all cats in nature, so let me not make that, quote to all. Like, jaguars, lions, tiger. But domestic cats, for the most part, like they don't just like they kind of want to dig a little part in the ground to shit and then cover it up, and literally that action covering up your shit. I'm like, so all the ancient ancestors, like, because again, each archetypical expression is just that, an archetypical expression of source energy as it was going through a certain perspective or a certain angle, hence with the zodiac signs. It was perceiving things from a certain angle in this moment. But like, covering up your shit, like all those ancient ancestor vibes, or you see those scenarios of the ancestors that, they part of the faction or the group that don't want to tell all the truth or like want to cover up some of their shit, you know what I'm saying, where they might have did some shit, but they want to put it in a hole and cover it up, you know what I'm saying? And again, and allowing for us to see how each perspective you know, has its pros and cons, you know. That's the lion or Leo energy, because again, a lion has a pride, or it has pride, you know, named the pride, you know, but, you know, so it's not trying to let you see that, you know what I'm saying, compared to, you know, a Capricorn energy, the goat energy, where it's just worried about how can I climb this mountain? What can I use? What can, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, it's telling a story, you know, because again, even with the simple stuff we do, even with like, as I'm talking about a cat taking a shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, with you taking a shit, like if you gotta take a shit and you feel it coming on, do you wait till you go drink drink a shot of whiskey before you do it? Or like, say for instance, like, you know, do you deal with your vices before you deal with taking, you know, letting go of shit? You know, like, do you have to, you feel that shit coming on, do you just go and like let that shit go? Because, you know, like, again, you feel it coming up, the body is like, hey, let this shit go. And you're like, wait, hold on, let me, you know, roll up this blunt first. Let me prepare this vice first, you know, or this coping mechanism. And sometimes it may not be a coping mechanism in certain situations, you know what I'm saying? But again, it's the story, or like if you holding, like, you know, you got a shit, but you holding on to it. Literally, that's telling a story of your inner universe, like your inner realm. You're known for holding on to shit. And again, like, and it's so cool, like I'm saying, like, damn, that's why symbols so important, because just the physical expression of our being tells the story, you know, of our Akashic records, you know what I'm saying, you know, our past lives, and in essence, you know, the universe in essence. You know, you think about the Big Bang, you know, when the sperm touched the egg, you know, and then being in darkness, you got to be in the unknown for like, you gotta be in the triple darkness, in the unknown, you know, for 3 trimesters, for 9 months, you know. But again, like, that's all of the story, you know. Spiders, you know, tell the story of being able to weave a web and allow for, you know, things to come to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it, the story of its energy, you know what I'm saying, and what it deals with, you know. But again, just every little animal, you know, every little thing, you know. I remember doing a video a while back speaking on, like, you know, if you chilling and you see somebody, you know, you see their vehicle, you know, that's a symbol of that person, you know, whether they either thinking about you or you thinking about them low key, or, you know what I'm saying? And then it's another symbol to that, because it's like what color that car is, you know, where you saw it at, you know, like, again, like, but that's all symbology. Like, again, everything we experience is like dream symbols, you know what I'm saying? If I go, and that's why, you know, again, without books, you know, like, that's why I'm like partial with reading, you know, because I'm like, it's so much reading to do within, you know, every moment, in essence, of just dealing with ourselves. And again, I see why reading comes in at some point to, you know, have a little foundational aspect of like, hey, this is where we are in our experience in the earthly plane, you know. We we remembering that we tapped in and don't have to read as much. It's just that, but from here, because this is now, it's a vibrate. We're gonna work from here, so we're gonna, you know, gonna read a little bit to confirm certain things and whatever, whatever, you know, and then, you know, and again, as we constantly pass that torch down to the children to be more tapped in, you know, walking books, you know, literally, Again, the story, the anatomy in mythology. You got this story where Toth always depicted, a lot of times, dealing with like a DNA strand or the Kundalini, because the Kundalini DNA strand, it has that same type of little spiral. No coincidence that in Judy K. King uh, book, what it is, the ISIS thesis, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Brother Panic for bringing that up. We're talking about the story of like transitioning out of this bodysuit and, what helps that process in the physical. There's a certain connection with the DNA and RNA. And in mythology, Thoth is like a representation of a certain aspect of, uh, a certain aspect that deals with our DNA that's like that rewrites things, you know what I'm saying? And Thoth always known as the scribe, you know what I'm saying? But there's multiple layers to that as well. But again, the mythology is anatomy by law. The law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. So my anatomy is going to be a mythological story. There's some story out there that's talking about my inner anatomy in some way, form, or fashion. Like the story of how manganese and iron don't really get along in the body. You know, that may be a story of somebody who's from Mars and a person who's from a more passive energy place, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever. And they go into this realm and they always beefing. But it's really just a story of manganese and iron. You know what I'm saying? And again, like each element is like a little entity or, being or, in essence, you could say a thought form, but in essence, like like a part of the algorithm, a part of the physical building block to the algorithm, you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to go too deep. I don't want to veer off. Just keeping it simple, though. Animals telling that. And again, so I got the ancient Lyran story, the Lyran beings. I got a part of that story just from observing that a cat likes to hide its shit. So it's like, damn, I like what would probably take a book, so much to explain. I got in a quick 1 minute, you know what I'm saying? If that, the thought popping up, or should I say download or upload of like, oh shit, like, like, and I brought that up before again, like, like even how a person and how they deal with certain animals is a story of certain things. Like if a person can't stand dogs, they may have something against loyalty and commitment, you know what I'm saying? If a person scared of spiders, they may be scared of weaving their own destiny. They may be afraid to have patience to allow things to come to them. Again, like, if a person don't like cardinals, then they may be having something against taking action or staying in one area for a long time because Cardinals known for not like their whole all 4 seasons they ain't going nowhere like if they're in a certain area, unless they really feel a vibe to move for some other reason, but they don't like move due to just because of the season changing, but again, that's a story within that, again, like everything is a little world and a little story being told, you know what I'm saying? But I digress. Peace, peace. How's the vibe break?